Hello and welcome to the Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. It's called Big Mountain Jesus, a 6-foot statue of the founder of Christianity that has stood along a ski run at the Whitefish Mountain Resort in Montana since 1954. Now the fate of that statue rests with a 3-judge appeals panel after a lawyer for a group of atheists asked for it to be removed from the U.S. Forest Service property, saying that it was a violation of separation of church and state. Here to debate, Robert Boston, Director of Communications with Americans for United for Separation of Church and State, and Dr. Robert Jeffress, Senior Pastor of First Baptist Dallas and a Fox News contributor. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Lauren.
So, Rob, let me start with you. So, a judge in 2013 said no reasonable observer would conclude the Forest Service was endorsing Christianity by permitting a private party to place that statue on land it leases from the government. So what do you say to that?
Well, this is a very strange case because I don't think the U.S. Forest Service is normally in the habit of allowing private groups to lease property to display religious symbols. But if they're going to do that, they need to be even-handed about it. Right now, they're only giving that privilege to this one group. And I would point out one other thing about this case. The judge also indicated that no devotional activity occurs near the statue. In fact, people mock it. They come by, they put ski goggles on the statue, they put ski helmets, ski poles in its hands, and they take selfies. So part of the justification for allowing this statue to remain is that people aren't taking it very seriously. They're making fun of it. I fail to see how that benefits religion.
So, Dr. Jeffress, your reaction to the appeals court, taking this case of the statue and what Rob said about it, people are actually mocking it.
Well, absolutely. And look, this is in poor taste. I think the statue is in poor taste, but there's nothing in the First Amendment that prohibits poor taste. Look, this is all going back to the First Amendment. What did the founders mean when they said that Congress can't establish a religion? It's all in reference to a state church. A 6-foot Jesus allowed on property leased from the U.S. Forest Service does not constitute the state establishing a religion. And look, over and over again, we hear about this freedom from religion, the group that brought this suit, the Freedom from Religion Foundation. There is nothing in the Constitution that says people have a constitutional right not to be offended by a prayer offered at a graduation service or a 6-foot Jesus on a mountain slope. That's not what the founders intended.
Now, Rob, I have to say that even though people you're saying are mocking it now, that it was actually erected by the Knights of Columbus to memorialize soldiers who died while fighting during World War II. So obviously it has a religious significance and an emotional significance to many people who were part of World War II. So who is harmed by the statue that it should not remain?
Well, I would point out that it only memorializes certain soldiers, those who happen to be Christians. A Christian symbol can't memorialize non-Christian soldiers, just to point that out. But I would also make the point that this really is a case that deals with access to public property. Now, the government is allowed to permit religious organizations to use property to display symbols on their own time and with their own dime. But when they do that, that means everybody else needs to have a crack at that property as well. So if somebody wants to come along and put up a statue of the Buddha or a depiction of the founder of the Church of Scientology or a symbol of Islam or Hinduism or some other faith, they should have that right too. And from what I'm gathering here, the U.S. Forest Service isn't extending that right to other organizations. It's giving an exclusive sweetheart deal to the Knights of Columbus, and I don't think that's going to stand up in court.
Okay, and Dr. Jeffress, what do you think the judges will decide in this case?
I have no way of predicting, but I want to make this point that's very important to understand. Look, it has only been in the last 50 years that groups like our guest have been hell-bent on removing prayer and Bible reading and religious displays from the public square. For the first 150 years of our nation's history, nobody had a problem with that, using biblical text in schools and so forth. So the real question is, what have these jurists in the last 50 years discovered in the Constitution that our forefathers were completely unaware of? And what I'm saying is, I believe our forefathers had a better understanding. That's why these things were not combated in the first 150 years of our nation's history. You know, Joseph Story was a justice appointed by James Madison. He wrote in 1811 in his commentary on the American law that the purpose of the First Amendment was simply to prevent rivalry among Christian denominations. It was never meant to make Christianity second class in its observance by the United States.
All right, I want to thank you both, Robert Boston and Dr. Robert Jeffress for being here. Thanks,
Lauren.
Yeah. And if you want to check out foxnews.com for more on this developing story, I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.